Hi there, guys. Thank you very much for joining me for one of our final episodes of the mini-series Testing One-to-One. Today I am joined by the lovely Andy Ninnes. So Andy is a test automation chapter lead at Covéa Insurance, working as a consultant through And Digital. So we'll get started. Andy, can you tell me about your role in a sentence?
Yeah, I can try. So I suppose my role within Covéa Insurance is, as you rightly said, the test automation chapter lead. What that role entails is almost setting some strategic direction for where automation is going within Covéa and how we progress that through the company. We've set a bit of an automation vision across the organisation to look at automating 80% of everything that we do, which is going to be really quite aspirational, and we're looking forward to doing that. Other parts of the role are very much to do with kind of creating that community feel within automation and really starting to drive forward best practice as much as we can. So really trying to drive that forward. Basically, that's what my role is.
Amazing, fantastic. So I'm really keen to understand. So why did you get into testing, Andy?
Why did I get into testing? It's a bit of a long story. So my career kind of started at Morrison's PLC, where I kind of undertook a role looking at the full software development lifecycle. So anything from support through development, through testing, through implementation and cutover. And I suppose that gave me a bit of a grounding in terms of what does it look like to deliver a product or a project, whatever way you want to look at it. And I think that kind of drove me into understanding a lot of the support pitfalls that a lot of organizations fall into. Kind of going, we find a lot of P1 defects or issues when we put something live. And that made me think just about, well, if we're finding that in production, why are we not finding it earlier and through our testing cycles and things along those sorts? So that really progressed my career into kind of very, very much test management roles and looking at kind of defect management and how do we prevent these issues happening in live. And that's kind of led me to where I am today. So that's why I got into testing. It's very much a passion thing for me, is to go, right, if we deliver something into live, it's really focusing on the quality of that delivery and really thinking about how do we prevent issues for our support colleagues or our operations colleagues on the front lines.
Yeah. It's really interesting to hear how you've kind of had that route. I mean, a lot of the kind of routes into testing that I've heard about before have been either coming from a development route and then thinking, oh, I'll do a bit of testing, or also testing as a career is very similar to recruitment, as I found out. A lot of people just, as one of my colleagues suggested, they go to the pub and then they wake up next day a tester, kind of like you do a recruiter. It's never really like a set career path that you choose and go down. But yeah, I think that's really interesting. Okay, cool. So obviously, we've known you for quite a while now, and we've heard quite a lot about kind of what you're doing at the moment with Covéa, which is really cool and really interesting. But what kind of drew you into the role now? So
that's an interesting question. So what drew me into the role? I mean, the obvious answer is the people I work with. So typically, both within And Digital and Covéa Insurance, I work with some really great people. And we form, effectively at Covéa, we form the engineering leadership team, and it's been great to work with those guys and drive forward that direction. I suppose the other side of it is kind of my passion for making sure that we deliver a quality product into production. So really setting up that community feel, that sense of empathy, and just trying to drive things forward as best as we possibly can. That's what's drawn me into this role. And given the opportunity to do that at Covéa, obviously we've recruited through yourselves a fantastic team we have now, and we've created that community feel with the Automation Guild, and we just want to see what direction that moves forward in.
Yeah, of course.
It's kind of driven me into it. It's that opportunity to set things, get things moving.
Yeah, I think obviously as a consultant as well with And Digital, I think that having, like you said, being able to go in and deliver something like that's quite interesting. Was that kind of what got you interested, I guess, in the consulting side as well?
Yeah, I think from a consulting perspective, you get the opportunity to do loads of different roles, and to get the opportunity like this with Covéa to go and really drive that best practice and ultimately set something up that didn't really exist before.
Yeah,
it's really beneficial, and I just feel that it adds to my diversity as a consultant, and I can potentially take that elsewhere if needs be.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of leaving a legacy behind for the client that you're working for, which you've definitely done. So
hopefully a good legacy. Let's put it that
way. Brilliant. So obviously, I kind of know the answer to this, as you know, we have been hiring with you. But what do you think makes a good tester?
So what I think makes a good tester is probably having that level of understanding of what is a testing process and what testing typically looks like in an organization, but also having that kind of empathetic understanding of what impact it has. So from a development perspective, how do we build quality stuff? Understanding if we don't build quality stuff, here's what the impact is down the line. I think other than that, it's kind of understanding the testing processes, understanding your knowledge base, understanding the application, the architecture, how it all fits together. Really does make a good tester. And obviously the basic understanding of kind of testing processes. How do I test something? What are edge cases? What's the happy path testing, as I tend to call it. I'm really trying to drive forward, right, if a user was to do X with a solution, what's the impact of that? What happens? I think having that broader understanding is massively beneficial in the testing world.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. On the happy path testing, that was the first kind of phrase that I heard when I started working on within testing, and that's how testing was explained to me. You know, this is what a normal person would do, or you know, this is what someone who wasn't involved in the testing process would do, and this is what testers do. You know, yeah. And I found that really quite interesting. Okay, fantastic. So. The big question, I mean, as part of this kind of mini series, what we really want to do is get a message out there to, you know, graduates, people who are potentially considering a career in IT, and basically telling them why we think that testing is such a good career path. So obviously you've got loads of experience, so I'm going to fling this out to you, Andy. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to the next generation of software testers?
I think for me, there's two. So I'm going to break it down to two.
Oh.
The first of which is, as I alluded to before, is gaining that understanding of what the process needs to look like and what good practice is as a tester. So focusing not only on the happy path, but also thinking about the edge cases and thinking about the impact further down the line, and understanding, you know, what that looks like from a developer perspective or an engineer perspective, as well as what that looks from an operational standpoint. I think that's massively invaluable to a good tester. The other side of it is very much staying abreast with kind of current technologies trends. And the reason I say that is thinking about the world of automation. You know, it's moving that fast. It's almost like Moore's law and that sort of thing. It's going that exponential route. That to stay abreast of it, you can get stuck in a hole with either C# or one area. And I think it's getting that broad scope of, right, I understand how to do it in C#. I'm going to go very automation on you now, but understand how it works with C# and understand how it works with Java and Selenium and SpecFlow and all that kind of good stuff. I think as we move more with different development languages and programming languages, with things like JavaScript and Node.js, React.js coming through, we need to think about how do we actually go about testing those without going back to potentially older testing methodologies. So that would be my advice is, you know, think about the entire process. What does it really look like? Understanding those impacts, and also staying abreast of newer technologies as they come through. That would be my main pieces of advice. Yeah,
100%. I totally agree with that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of, you know, staying abreast of technologies, I mean, that would be where, you know, looking out to your network basically, and finding out, you know, what other people are using, speaking to people like me, because I've got a bit of market intelligence up here. But yeah, yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I think that's some really good advice that we can push out there to the community. So yeah, thank you so much, Andy, and
you're very welcome.
We'll speak soon.
Speak soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks a lot. Bye.